Hi everyone, my name is Haley Morrison, your host for Let's Talk Out Loud, the Health Kick series.
Getting down with a good life. Getting down with a good
Hi everyone. So in this episode, I spoke to Claire, who is a breathwork facilitator, and she is also a life coach, and she actually combines them both together. So we spoke about the benefits of breathwork. I mean, personally, it's not something that I really delved in or understood much about, and that there's different types of breathing, but different types of issues that you may have. It can help, quiet your mind. It can help regulate your nervous system, and it's also really good for children to do as well. So we spoke about that. So Claire obviously has a place in East Baldwin. So if you're from the Northeast area, you may know where that is. And she provides obviously her life coaching and teaches people the skill of breath work so that they can take it home. And I really like that about her. She wanted to equip people with the tools to go and use at home, not just a case of come to this session all of the time to be able to take something away. She also wanted to make it really accessible. So she's got memberships as well. And then we kind of touched on nature and, expectations of people from our belief systems, and that we really must kind of start challenging that, and that not everybody thrives in the same environment. And we obviously spoke about school, for example, not everybody kind of thrives in a classroom. So I really, really enjoyed the chat. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And as always, if you do have any questions for Claire, if you're interested in breathwork, or want to find out more, all of her links will be in the description. Enjoy. I'm absolutely thrilled to have the lovely Claire on today to talk about her coaching business. She's a wellness coach. She teaches breath work and other coaching therapies as well. But I think Claire will probably be able to introduce it a little bit better than myself. So I'm just going to go straight over to Claire and just say, tell us a bit about what it is you do.
Yes. So hello, thank you so much for having me. So I am a breathwork coach. So essentially what I do is I work with people, I teach people how to use the breath to take back control of their lives. So how I got into it, I was always trying to improve my wellness. There was always something else that I could do. I tried yoga for years and I just couldn't get into it. But everyone on Instagram and social media was doing yoga, so I thought I had to do it. And then, you start running and you start doing all these different things to just improve your wellness. So I booked myself onto what I thought was going to be a meditation class, because obviously we go again trying to improve wellness. And it turned out to be a breathwork class. And I just came out of the class and I was like, what on earth was that? What has just happened? So I went back a few more times and I was just like, this is something special. This is powerful. And then I booked my first course, and I think I'm about a year in. I've done 3 different courses. Well, I've done 2 courses. I started on one tonight. And I'm just so, it just hits me every time how powerful the breath is. And I just think it's such an inclusive thing. Like, everyone can breathe. Like, you're all breathing. If you're listening to this now, you are breathing. So you can use the breath to take control of your life. It's just knowing what to do. And then I just have gone deeper and deeper since then. I've learned a lot about myself. There's so many different types of breath work. There's different breath work techniques within the different types of breath work. So it's really just for me to take back control of your life. Like, if you think of the world that we live in now, we are constantly consuming, we're constantly scrolling, watching TV, we're doing so many things, which is great. We're living our lives, but we spend so much time in that sympathetic branch of our nervous system, which is that go, 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 or potentially the fight or flight, which everyone will know it as. And we just don't bring ourselves back down into that rest and digest. And when we're in this fight or flight, we have cortisol, which is stress hormones being pushed around the body. But not all our organs are being used correctly, so our digestion isn't needed when we're fleeing the tiger, which is why we go into that fight or flight. So our digestion subsides, so people can get like IBS and digestion issues. We're like in that stress, anxiety, we're breathing fast. So we've got all these things going on, and we just never bring ourselves back down into that parasympathetic branch. And that is what we can do with the breath. And that is how I like to use it as a tool for whether it's 2 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the morning, or an hour class, using the breath whenever it fits. And I think for me, that is the beauty of the breath. It doesn't always have to be these big, long sessions. If you know what to do, you can spend 5 minutes doing it, and it can completely just change your state. It can bring you from that sympathetic into that parasympathetic. And I just think it's unbelievably powerful.
Yeah. And obviously I'm going to ask you a little bit more about like the type of things that it helps people with. But do you know your story, how you said you went into that session? What was one of the biggest things that you noticed? Was it just like, what was your experience? What did you feel from it? Just if you don't mind sharing a little bit more like in depth on what happened.
Yeah, I think for me, it was just actually feeling it in my body. So the type of breath we did, I could feel like different sensations in my body. So I was someone who had to be on the go all the time. My safety was in that movement, doing things, having to go. Like I remember, like one weekend I was at my sister's and I'd been on a walk already, and I was like, "Does anyone else want to go on a walk? Should we go on a walk? Do you want to go?" And my sister was like, "Sit down." And I can't sit down. Like there's still another 6 hours left of the day. I can't sit on the sofa for 6 hours. But when I went to that class, I just lay down, and I lay down for 45 minutes, and I just breathed. And that just didn't happen for me ever usually. So for it to happen in that session, for me to be able to feel that sense of calm, for me to feel like these sensations in my body, like I would be quite disconnected from my body. So I'm all like up here, the logical thinking, I can process everything through my mind. My mind knows where everything. Ask what's happening in my body, not a clue, haven't got a clue. So in that first session, I was like feeling these things, and I knew something was happening, but I didn't like understand it until I've now obviously like jumped into the breath further. So I feel like it was just those first few steps that I needed to be like, there's a different way of life. There's something can shift here.
So like a bit more like giving you the chance to kind of connect with your body, like you've just said before, instead of being constantly in your mind and on autopilot, allowing yourself to have a bit of a break. Because I'm quite like that actually. Like, and my mum used to say, I can't imagine you watching telly because I'm like always on the go, which I know that it's not good. So I definitely think that it's something that I would like to try myself. Sometimes I've kind of in the morning, do you know how you've just said before, in the morning time you can have like a few minutes. I have tried to just like center myself, but then I haven't done the breathing thing though. I've never tried that fully. So it'd be quite interesting to see. And I think everybody's on the go, aren't they, right now? Like everybody's an autopilot, just go, 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 go. So it's mad that this is like something that is coming out, isn't it? Do you feel like there's more people now like talking about breath work? Like, is it Wim Hof that does the whole breath work thing?
Yeah,
I
so
think
Wim
he
Hof
might have been the
does,
first person I've seen.
yeah, because he got his TV show, didn't he? So
Yeah.
he does like a hyperventilation style of breath work. So this is where we then like jump into the different types of breath work.
Right.
So the types, 3 types ones that I do are like your functional breathing. So how are you breathing day to day? Like how are you breathing as you're sat listening to this podcast now? So are you breathing through your nose, or are you breathing through your mouth? Are you breathing into your chest, or are you breathing deep down into your stomach? And are you breathing fast, or are you breathing slow? And so there is an efficient way to breathe so that we are supporting the body. So we want to be breathing through our nose. We want to be breathing deep down into our stomach. We want to be breathing quite light so that we can't hear ourselves breathing. And we want to be breathing for about 5-6 seconds in, 5-6 seconds out. And what that does is that keeps us within that parasympathetic branch. It allows us to keep that balance. Whereas what's actually happening with just the way we live, the way we've evolved, is that we're breathing through our mouths. And as soon as you breathe through your mouth, it's shorter, so it's staying in the chest, it's faster, and then you're naturally activating that sympathetic, so your body thinks there's a threat. And this is where chronic stress then comes in, because you're staying in that sympathetic branch for so long, just through the way that you're breathing. So then again, we come back to the stress hormones being pumped around your body. You've got the digestion not working properly, and the heart palpitations, sweaty hands, all of this is going on whilst we're in that sympathetic branch. And by just changing the way that you're breathing day to day can change then how your body's reacting, how your body's doing. So that is your functional breathing. Then you've got your nervous system. So this is how you're using the breath as a tool. So this is how I like to use it as a tool. So if you're someone like me who has to be on the go, doesn't like to sit still, constantly feels safe in this sympathetic, bringing in that slower breathing to bring yourself down into that parasympathetic branch. So this often beautiful breath, my favorite one is a humming, the bee breath. So that's where you inhale in through your nose, and when you exhale, you hum, and the vibrations of the hum activate the vagus nerve, which is associated with the parasympathetic branch. So that really rests and digests, and it brings your body into that relaxation. So I will do that breath. If someone annoys me, if I'm coming out of a meeting where I'm like, I'll do 3 rounds of that breath. And I just feel that wave of calm come over me, and I'm like, it's okay, Claire. It's okay.
Yeah.
And literally by just doing it 3 times, you can do it more times, but I always feel it 3 times. I'm like, okay, I'm back in the room again. And then another really good one is an extended exhale. So if you inhale in for 4 seconds and exhale out for 8 seconds, then the exhale is the parasympathetic branch. So we're then putting more emphasis on that. And again, just relaxing ourselves down. So same situation, if you're feeling a bit stressed, come out of a meeting, you can just do a couple minutes of that shorter inhale and longer exhale, and you're bringing yourself back down into that relaxation. So you can literally be any place and you can do that breath, and that's why I love breath work. You've also got breaths that then can like pump you up a little bit more. So if you've had a bit of a rubbish night's sleep, if you've got the post-lunch slump like at your desk, you can do specific breaths to then activate yourself, bring yourself back in and give that energy. And then you've got transformational breath work. So this is a different type of breath work, which is the Wim Hof style.
Right, okay.
Doing that quicker breathing. And he does it a bit different to me. I've never really jumped into his that much, but the way that I do it is that what we do is we alter the brain chemistry. So we get to turn down the noise on the prefrontal cortex. So, you know, like the voice that's like, you're not good enough, you can't do this, you should do this, things have to be perfect. We get to quieten down the noise on that, and we get to tap into like our true self, into our subconscious. We get to rewire those beliefs. We can see situations in a completely different light because we're using different parts of our brain. You can release things that you've been holding on to. It's honestly the most powerful, gorgeous form of it's somatic therapy. So it's just amazing. And it's all by using the breath.
I know, I'm like, there's so many, sounds like there's so like everything in it. It's so many benefits to knowing how to breathe. And I didn't realize there was so many different ways to breathe either. So what would you say as well for somebody who is like obviously on the go but struggles to like sit still, to get into it, to like, is there like an exercise that can do, not when they're on the go, but just to kind of quickly snap them in, like a 3 breath thing or something just that's really quick? What's your quickest fix? If you like?
I'd say that bee breath is one that usually that's the one that I always chose to do, because I struggle to sit still. I struggle to like not be on the go. So as soon as like, and you do have to sit down, like it, I mean, you can do it whilst you're walking, but you're walking.
You'll be out of breath.
If you can literally just sit for a minute, it won't take more than a minute to do those 3 breaths. If you could just give yourself that minute to do it, then do it. And I think the other thing is it's like start small. Like often we're like, okay, breath work is amazing. I'm going to do it. I'm going to do 15 minutes in the morning, lunch and dinner, and I'm going to do it every single day. And the reality is, especially if you're someone who likes to be on the go, find 15 minutes at those times in your schedule to do it. Like you can't, it's busy.
Yeah.
So it's like start small, like maybe do it in the morning and the evening, maybe just do it for 10 minutes. Start with 2 minutes if that is what feels comfortable, and then slowly build up to it. But one of the main things that I've found is that you'll never find the time. You have to make the
Make
time.
the time.
So you have to put that time in your diary to do it, because you'll just be chasing your tail trying to find it, and other things will always take priority.
Yeah. I was speaking to someone else the other day about an issue, and they said it wasn't breath work. I can't remember what it was, but she said if you haven't got the time, then that shows that you actually need to make the time, because you're clearly too busy to be with yourself, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And to slow down that thought process, which a lot of the time is negative, isn't it? It is. A lot of the
Yeah.
time it's negative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So can kids do this as well? Like, would you recommend, for kids who are literally hyper, like, is this
Yeah.
something that you would recommend to teach your child to
Yeah,
to do a breathing
definitely.
exercise?
You can teach your child to be breathing through their nose, definitely. And obviously, you have to alter it for a child. Like
Mm.
we do some breath holds, and we don't want children to be holding their breath for
Passing out.
7 seconds. So reducing it down. But
Oh.
a really good one for a child is if you do the finger breath. So if you have your finger here, and so you inhale as you come up and exhale as you
Oh
go down,
yeah.
and then inhale up. So then the child has something to concentrate on, but they're also
Mhm.
guiding themselves on the breath. So that's a
Mhm.
really good one for a child to do.
Mhm.
If you can just make sure that they're breathing through their nose, because breathing through your mouth it's a habit. So if they start
Mhm.
young, they're potentially going to do it.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely children can do it. It's just making sure that you'd use the right ones for them. The bee breath will be good for them as well, because it's
Yeah.
an animal, like it's a bumblebee. Think of a bee, make the noise of a bee. So it's just
Yeah,
trying
that's
to like
quite
make
good.
it a bit more child friendly,
Yeah. Mhm.
especially if you've got someone who doesn't like to sit down, getting them to count seconds in and seconds out.
Yeah.
It isn't fun, is it? So
No, I might try it with my daughter, because we've tried meditation, and she's like, she gets irritable, and then she's like, oh, I don't like the noise. It's like irritates her and stuff. And sometimes it does get a bit too much. So I might try that actually with her
yeah,
and see if
yeah.
that helps.
Because
So
I
that
think
is,
like the one thing with meditation, and like I said, that I went to that class, I couldn't do it because I constantly had all the thoughts going on in my head, and I
yeah.
thought that you have to have no thoughts. So then I constantly was like, you're not doing it right because you've got no thoughts.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're focusing on the breath, you have that focus point, and you're counting the seconds, or you're moving your hand on your
Hmm.
finger, so you have something to concentrate on. And then if your mind wanders, or when your mind wanders, because it will, because your mind can't wander, and can't not
Hmm.
wander in the world that we
Yeah.
live in, you can just bring it back to the breath, bring it back to your count, and it just takes that pressure off having silence. Because
Mm-hmm.
if that's what you're expecting, then you're only going to be disappointed until you've been
Yeah.
practicing meditation for a long time.
Hmm.
So that's why I took to breath work as well, because it allowed me to concentrate on the 4 seconds in, the 4 seconds
Hmm.
out, whatever I was actually doing.
That makes sense actually, because with the meditation, like there has been times where I've tried to do it and my mind does wander, and so that's why I normally like guided meditation, because I try and listen, but then I do still go off. But I suppose when you're breathing, you can physically feel it, so you've got something to pay attention to, I would imagine,
Yeah.
because you can feel it. So, that sounds really, really interesting. And I'm definitely going to have to like put it in my morning routine,
Yeah.
and try that out. So obviously with breath work, like we can come back to it, but you said you do like that coaching as well. Like, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about the other stuff that you do.
Yeah, so I'm a qualified life and mindset coach. So that's initially how I kind of like started coming into the wellness side more. I first did that. I worked it for a charity in Manchester, supporting young women, and we had life coaches come in to support them. Um, And I was just quite aware that how much the charity paid the life coaches would never have been a price that the young women would have been able to have afforded themselves. And it just felt a little bit like you have to earn a certain amount of money to pay the privilege of having a life coach. And I was like, wouldn't it be great to make life coaching a little bit more accessible
Yeah.
to other people as well? So I started off doing that for a while, and then the breathwork came in, and the breathwork just took over. But the one thing that now I notice is I kind of was the life coach, and then I've done the breathwork, but it's bringing them together.
Yeah.
So like your mind, you can do all this work with the mind, but if you're not like reprogramming, or if you're not listening to the body, if you're not coming in with this, it's called like a top-down approach. You're coming from your mind, or the bottom-up approach. If you bring them together, beautiful harmony.
Yeah.
So I kept them quite separate for a long time, but the more that I dive in, the more I'm realizing that actually we need to bring these together. We need to work with the body, the somatics, the breaths. We need to be able to connect our mind and body together to create that like ideal outcome to work through whatever it is that we need to work through.
Yeah, I think that's lovely that you've recognized that though, and that you're obviously providing something that is more accessible. And I think I share that kind of mission as well, like with the Good Life Guru that I'm doing, is just kind of wanting to get information to people who can't access it, who can't afford it, or they're on a waiting list. So it's been lovely having obviously the guests that I've had on. Because I think a normal person or a working class person or the people that I might meet, or even myself, because I'm not a rich person, I'm okay, but it's not something you would think of, would you? Like having a life coach, most people would not think of having a life coach because they would just assume like, oh, it's only rich people who have coaches, who can have the support and have people to help them with. So whereabouts are you based? Are you in like Northeast? Are you in Manchester?
No, so I'm in the northeast now. So I'm in I'm in Horton Springs.
Oh
So
yeah, I know that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, I know
yeah.
where that is. So do you have like a practice or do you rent somewhere? Where would somebody like come to visit you for
Um,
therapies?
so I have a regular relaxation breathwork class at a studio called My Body Studios in East Baldwin. So I do that on a Monday evening. So that's a regular class there. And then I have ad hoc face-to-face workshops. So I do like a 2 hour in-depth workshop on like the functional breath. So teaching people the different techniques of functional breathing and guiding people through a relaxation style breathwork session. Because for me, you can come to a breathwork session and I can guide you for an hour and you can feel amazing at the end. But if you don't know why you feel amazing and if you don't know the techniques, then you can't really implement it into your life. So I run these 2 hour workshops to bridge together me being able to tell you the information, but you also being able to feel it and get the experience as well. So that is so that you can then take it and implement it into your life. Now, don't get me wrong, it is so nice to come and be guided. Like I did a session today and the guy was like, I can take some of these techniques away for the shorter times, but to come and just switch off and listen to you for an hour, that's amazing. And that is the balance. So you can come to me for the hour sessions, but you also then know those different techniques then to implement into your life. So that like is something that's quite important to me with the sessions I do. I'm always saying, even when I'm guiding, this is activating the parasympathetic, this is doing this, so that you're knowing and understanding what you can do. So that's my regular classes and my ad hoc workshops. I've got a corporate workshop as well, so I can go into corporate businesses and deliver a similar workshop on how can you use the breath before you've got a big meeting, before you've got to do a presentation.
After a horrible phone call.
Yeah. Literally in those different moments, because we all go through them every day, like it happens. So if you can then use that breath to bring yourself back down, it's team bonding as well. Like there's so much power behind the breath. So I do my corporates, and then I've got an online membership as well. So this was my membership to make it more accessible. So if you sign up to the membership a month, you get 1 hour relaxation breath work, you get 1 hour of the somatic release breathwork session. So they're 2 live sessions a month, because if they're live, you're more likely to come to them. If it's a pre-recorded one all the time, I'll press play today, tomorrow, later, and you never do.
Yes.
Whereas if they're live, I've honestly just tried to make it so simple. So it's the second Wednesday of the month, it's the fourth Wednesday of the month for them 2 live sessions. And then I do send out a pre-recorded audio as well, so that you can just press play anytime and that. So when you're in the membership, you'll start to bank up these recordings that I aim to be like less than 5 minutes, so that you can literally just use them in the moment. So my plan for that membership was just to make it as simple as possible. I think I could have recorded 100 pre-recorded ones. I could have done so much, but actually I think sometimes there's beauty in simplicity, and you just, if you have the choice of 100 audios, which one are you going to choose? Oh my God, then I'll scroll and I'll think. So you just have a nice, small, useful bank of audios and 2 live calls a month, and that is simple as it needs to be.
Oh, I think that's great. I'm going to have a little look into that. So thank you. So going back to you, like the coaching as well, like what type of people do you coach? Are you open to just anybody, or are you like bespoke where you have a chat to say, oh, I can help you, or I can't? Like, what kind of coaching?
So it was very much confidence coaching when I was doing it in my kind of peak times. I don't do as much of it now, mostly the breathwork, but what I am pulling together is a 1-to-1 breathwork program. So we take a look at how you're breathing. I do guiding, but then we also start to bring in different habits that can then support you and your mind. So then I'll bring in like a mindset booklet, so looking at your values, looking at different areas of your life, because often when we come to difficulty, it's, do we know what our values are? Are we doing things that align with our values? Because essentially the values guide our lives. It's what influences our behaviors, influences our actions. So if we're not actually doing things that are aligning with them, that's where we're coming to these standstills. So if you go into like a nice release breathwork session, you can see situations in a different light. You can come out and you'll be like, actually, I need to figure out my values because I'm not aligned with them. So then it's bringing the 2 of them together. So that one's going to be a lot more personable. That's going to be able to, do you want to just go deep into the breath, or do you need some of that mindset coaching? Where do you want to go with it? And kind of let the individual go where they need to go, and then I can just be there to support. Some people might just want to tap more into the breath. Others might want to do some more of the mindset, confidence building, rewiring, and then we can bring them both together.
Yeah, no, that sounds amazing. And then would you say like, because obviously you've got your membership, and then you got is that separate that you would do is if somebody wanted individual coaching?
Yeah, so that would be like an 8-week program where we'd like meet up. Not fully got it figured out yet, but like every other week we'd do like a breathwork session. We'd check in, do different things, and you can go away and create your habit list, like even small things like celebrating your small wins. Like one thing when I was working with people is like, you don't think you've achieved much in the last week, but actually, like if you think of a small thing every single day, those small things are the small steps to getting you towards your goals. So it's just bringing in different like mindset tricks and habits like that.
Yeah. So what would you say as well is the biggest problem in society in regards to like people not being happy and healthy and kind of living the best life? That is probably a question I've just sprung on you, so feel free to take a few minutes.
No, I'm ready. I think it's society's expectations. I think expectations that get put upon you of where you have to be, what you have to do at different ages and stages of your life. Like I could tell you a timeline of different ages and what the unwritten rule book is, what you should be doing. And if you listen to that, that's when you get stuck in jobs you don't like, because you're climbing a ladder, because you have to buy a house, because you're going to get married, because you then have to have the kids by the time you're 30. And it's like, it's nonsense. And I just think the more people that like find the confidence, or like find the trust in themselves to follow their own path, the more happiness that they'll be, because they'll then inspire more people to, well, you don't have to do this society's expectations of working. Like, essentially, we're all going to work until we retire, and then when you retire, you're too old to do anything. You just have to sit still. Like, no, thank you. Can't sit still now, let alone sit still then.
And the thing is, as well, as people will work in a job looking forward to retirement, but they'll work hard in a job they don't actually like as well, won't they? It's not always a case of like, I'm working and then I'm going to retire. It's like, I'm working to the bone, but I'm going to enjoy it. And then when that's it, it's like, you're right. Yeah, I totally agree with that. Yeah, it's such a shame, isn't it? The way that expectations are put on us, especially obviously from like your parents and from school, and when you get kind of told things like you're stupid or you're not good at this, and it's mad how it just goes in, and that's how people think that, you know, they need to show up in the world. It's quite sad, isn't it?
We're sponges, we're just absorbing and consuming everything, and you only need one person to make a comment for then that to become a belief for you, and a belief that you can't achieve this, or you have to be perfect, which then just influences your behaviors, and then potentially like the trajectory, like, oh, I have to be perfect at everything. How many different areas of your life does that hit and impact? Like, whereas if we just like reduce those expectations, like just do something you enjoy, like be happy. You don't have to own a house, you don't have to, like, there's so much of the world out there. Do what will make you happy.
Yeah, definitely. And my daughter, she's nearly 9, and we've struggled with her going to school since she was little, really. Like, she had the separation anxiety. And then a couple of years ago, she was like, Mom, why am I in school 5 days a week, 6 hours a day? And I was like, actually, it's a really good question. And because of all the mindset stuff and the work that I was kind of doing and understanding the conditioning that we go through, we were like, oh, like, what do we do? So we tried about the homeschooling, like the home ed. So we tried it last year, took her out of school. She went back in November, but she started again. And I think she's one of the kids that is like really testing and pushing, which I like. And I say to her, like, I love the fact that, you know, you don't want to sit in a classroom, and she is sporty. But I'm just like, but right now, like, we can't take you out just right now. But then it breaks my heart that I'm still having to, you know, ship her off to somewhere that she doesn't really want to be. Because that's how we've always done it. And people will say, like, well, everyone's got to go to school. It's like, it's so
and it's
hard.
just like, not everyone learns in that classroom environment. Like, there's like nature, and like I was friends with, when I was in Nepal for a bit, and one of the guys, the local guys, would take me around and be picking different leaves, and he'd be like, this leaf will do this for you, and this leaf will do that. And it's like, you actually understand, and you know what the world can give you. Whereas I'll take an antihistamine tablet, or I'll take a paracetamol. Like, what things can we learn and do about nature that will benefit us? But you won't learn it inside of a classroom.
No. And you know, it's a shame, because like even now we'll be able to say, Mom, why do I need to know the names of all the rivers? Like, when am I ever going to? She's so switched on. I'm like, so, and it's so hard. But you're right. It's like there's no life skills there, is there, at school, really? Even like, I do think obviously reading and writing is important, but with my daughter, like, she's like amazing at maths, but English, she finds it boring unless it's a good story. The books used to be like brought home from school, she just wasn't interested and she didn't want to read. And then so she started falling a little bit behind, not massively, because she could still read. But I'm like, do you know what? She'll find her way. Like, I'm not even concerned as much now anymore. Like, I'm just trying to kind of go with her passions and what she's interested, outside of her having to be obviously in school as well. So, but a lot of people will just be like, shut up, get in the class. That's just how it's going to be. You need to get a job. That's another one, isn't it? Like, you need to get a job.
And then the thing that I struggle with this all the time. If I sit and think about it, I think it's absolutely bizarre that we have to ask permission from somebody who's like our manager, who you only know because of work, we have to ask their permission if we can take time off to go and enjoy our own lives and do things that we want.
Yeah.
Like, it stumps me every time I talk about it. I talk about it quite a lot because it really does
Yeah.
baffle me so much. But it's just to live your own life, you have to get permission from someone that you don't really know that well, and they have the authority to tell you whether you can go and do it.
Yeah.
It's madness.
But even in school though, if you think about the permissions they've got to ask to even go to the toilet, do you know what I mean? And it's like you've got to ask to go and relieve yourself. That's quite like shocking, especially when they're told like no.
Yeah,
Like, why would
yeah,
you say no to a child? Like, yes, they might be messing around, but you can't really risk that, can you? You have to say, right, okay, you need to go. And it is, it's like, but again, if you think about when school was started, it was for the industrial age, wasn't it? To have a bell, to go to work, to have the lunch,
yeah.
and it was reading, writing, and obviously mathematics and stuff. And then now there's stuff that they've got to learn. I know we're going off topic here, but I quite think I want to talk about stuff like this more, I guess, with the guests that have come on, because I think it's important that I guess people need to be aware of their life. And when you've set expectations there, I'm like 100%, like people need to know, like, and question things, don't they? Like, question why are they doing the things that they do?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And
It's
I
like
just
having
keep,
a voice, isn't it?
and this is morbid, but you're going to die someday. And then you're going to think, what was that worth? What was my life worth? What did I, looking back, like what should I have done and what could I have done different kind of thing.
Have you ever listened to the
So,
podcast? It's on Dr. Chatterjee, and it's the 5 regrets of the dying.
no.
Oh my God, it'll just change your whole outlook
What's
and
it
everything.
called?
The 5 regrets of the dying.
Right,
So it's
okay.
a lady who wrote a book, and she basically worked in like palliative care, and she went round and was like speaking to all these people, and their regrets would be like, don't focus so much on what other people think, like live your life. And when you listen to them,
Yeah.
as like they are the words of people who
Mm-hmm.
have now died,
Mm-hmm.
it's like blimey, like you really do just get caught up in society's expectations of how
Mm-hmm.
you should live your life rather than how you want to live your life.
Yeah. And do you know how you obviously are doing the breath work and the wellness? Was there a point earlier that you thought, I'm not kind of living my best life, or did everything just kind of unfold from that breath work session? Or were you already thinking, oh, like I'm not in a good place, or I don't want to be doing this? Like, or have you
Um,
always just followed your gut? Like, how have you?
no, so well, sorry, I'm just gonna have to.
That's
Oh,
okay.
that's fine. So I went to school, college, went to university because obviously
You
you
did.
had to.
Yeah.
And then I was very much like, I'm just gonna um get a husband, get a house. Like I was very much on society's expectations. They had me hooked in, and that is exactly what I
Yeah.
was doing. And then one of my friends was like, "Oh, should we go traveling?" I was like, "Traveling?" I was like, "No, it's never really appealed to me at all." She's like, "No, come on, let's go." So in the end, we decided to go. So we planned to go, I think, for about a year, 18 months,
Mhm.
and came back 2 years later. And I came back and I was like, cool, like I did it, I've ticked it off. And I was home for about 8 months. I was like, I'm going again. Then I went away for another 18 months, came back, then moved to Iceland, lived there for a few months, and
Mhm.
then came home from COVID. Like in between all of that, I always did like admin jobs, but it was always temporary. I knew you're
Yeah.
saving, you're going away. So I actually really enjoyed it, but I always knew the corporate life wasn't for me. I never like the suits, the like pretending to be something that I'm not.
Mhm.
It was always niggling in me that it wasn't for me. And
Mhm.
then I was back in Manchester, I was living there. I ended up getting a job in an office and I worked there for a bit. And then I worked in a few charities, and that hit me a bit more that I liked the charities. I was doing like things to help people, but
Mhm.
there was still targets you had to hit. And the targets meant that you weren't necessarily supporting people in the way that would benefit them.
Mhm.
Um, And then I found the life coaching, and then that was it. I was like, okay, this is how I can help people on my terms. Like,
Yeah.
I get to do it. And if someone wants to come to a life coaching session, in your pajamas, come, because we're human. Like, it doesn't, like, I would never think someone isn't into it or isn't trying because they're, in the pajamas. Like, if there's someone who swears, like, be you. Like, I
Yeah.
just want people to be them. And I feel like the life coaching and the breath work has just allowed me to be me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I've kind of like followed that path. Like, I think I always knew I'd like to work for myself, but I never really knew how. When I was younger, I was going to own my nursery because I'd be so successful with loads of money, and my success was the money. And now it's just like, no, like this, I have freedom and I get to help people. So yeah, it kind of, I was never like in a bad place or anything like that. I just knew the corporate life wasn't for me. And then the more I stepped away from it, the more I realized how society has these expectations and how actually there is a different way that you can live your life. And it just pulled me.
Yeah. No, that's great. And obviously, you were saying earlier on about you tried the meditation, you tried other things, and it was only the breath work that really, really kind of resonated with you. So I think that's probably important for people to know as well. If you're trying something, it might not be for you, but obviously don't stop looking and keep trying different things. But it does sound like breath work. It's like, who can it not be for? I hope I said that right. Like it sounds like it's for everybody, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like everyone, like that's the thing, like everyone can do it. Like, if you're breathing, you can do it. But it's, I don't know, finding the right kind of breath work for you. Like, I started off doing a lot more of the hyperventilation style breath work. And I actually found, for me at that time, I needed more of the calming breath work to bring me a bit more into balance. So now I can do more of the hyperventilation. But it's just, like you say, it's trying different things. It's finding what works for you. Like I said, I tried yoga for years and I couldn't do it. Now I love yoga and I do it a couple of times a week, but because I understand the breath, like I was holding my breath in yoga and I was focusing so much on like how unflexible I was, whereas actually there's so much more to it than that. And the breath just seemed to like open that and let me understand it. So yeah, 100% agree with what you say. Like, try different things and try things multiple times, try things with different practitioners, because the way I do it will be different to a different breathwork coach. So like the hyperventilation style breathwork is like that release. So when you're in one of those sessions, there'll be a lot of sounding. So I'll be like, scream, release what you need to. So there'll be cues for that. But if you're going to that breathwork expecting a relaxation and you're in a room of people and you're being told to scream, it's going to completely put you off. And I've spoken to so many people who are like, that screaming breathwork, no, not doing it. And it's like, give it a go again and just know what class you're going to. Try with a different teacher, because everyone has their own way of doing it, and you'll find the right one that works for you at the right time.
Yeah. And I think you just said there as well, at the right time, because sometimes people aren't ready, are they, as well?
100%. I really, really believe that. Yeah, you can hear something 100 times, but if you're not ready, you won't hear it until the 101st time.
No, definitely. So is there anything else you would say is, or that you think might be important, obviously, if anyone's listening, to kind of help with a bit of advice if they're going through a hard time right now, or just like, getting frustrated with life, they're not in the right place, they want help? Is there anything that comes to your mind, like, that you would say? Sorry, I'm just like dropping these like questions on you today.
I think for me, it'd just be like, take a moment and see what it is that you want. What do you want, and what does your body want? So like, your body knows more than your mind. Like, I've just started reading a book, and actually, like, our body and our senses and our nervous system was around before our mind did. Our brain has developed and our mind has come on so much afterwards. So actually, where we think the mind runs the show, actually it's the body. So it's like, I'd say just slow down, take a minute, tap into your body, tap into yourself, see what it is that you really want to do, see what you feel in your body, and then reach out to people, speak to people. Like I always say, if anyone's got any questions about breathwork, I'm always ready to talk about
Yeah.
breathwork. So there's always people that you can speak to. So if it's like a modality that you want to get into, if it's like breathwork, meditation, yoga, message a teacher, message someone. There's a reason that we become teachers and mentors of it. It's because we have the passion for it. So there'll always be someone ready to explain stuff to you or
Yeah.
guide you through it or tell you maybe what would be the best type of breathwork, type of yoga to do, depending on where you're at and when you're starting.
Yeah. So really it sounds like breathwork would be the first step for anything like that. When somebody's ready to be able to get the answers, they have to be able to be in a position to listen.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
guess, yeah.
Yeah, I put a post on my Instagram the other day, and when I did my first course, my mentor said, if I've ever got a big decision to make, or if I've ever got anything going on, I breathe on it. And I remember being in that class like, sorry, what? Like, that makes no sense to me at all. And it's only that since I've been to learn, and I'm like, okay, because when you breathe on it, you're regulating your body. You're not having heightened emotions, which make you like not think as logically or react quicker. I would always go and ask other people's opinions, like before I'd think of my own. So then I'd be
Yeah.
influenced with people who don't have the same values of me. So yeah, I think coming back to that breath, coming back, regulating your body and just like seeing where you and your body are at is a good first step. Might sound crazy hearing it for the first time because I was the same, but now I get it.
Yeah.
Coming into the breath is just, yeah, magic.
I think you're saying that as well, crazy. I think a few guests I've had on who do like say Reiki and things like that, we talked about that because I think some people like it's the first time that they've heard of it, isn't it? So they're like, how you get our
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that, how can that help kind of thing. So I guess it
yeah,
would be like just allowing them to open their minds and I guess try it. And if you don't try
exactly.
it, then you're never gonna know.
Yeah, I definitely say try it before you judge it. Like I've had people come to my classes and they're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to sit here for an hour. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then they've come out and they're like, well, that was the fastest hour that I've ever been in. And I'm like, yeah, it is. You've just got to give it a go.
Yeah, no, I love that. I really do. Well, thank you obviously so much, Claire, for like spending some time to come and chat to us and stuff. And what I'll do is get all of your links, like for your membership, any pages and just anything really that you want to share. And then I'll put them in the description. So obviously when this goes out, if people want to kind of get in touch with you, ask more questions or join your membership or anything like that, it means they can kind of have all the links there. So thank you so, so much.
No, thank you so much. It's been such a lovely conversation. And yeah, I just feel if anyone is unsure or anything, just send me a message. I'm so happy to just talk and give a bit of advice or direction if that's where you're at. So never feel like, I think sometimes it's like, oh no, I don't want to send a
Yeah.
message to a stranger. Send it. You'll probably get a voice note back as well. Me and my friends were talking about that the other day and how they'd never voice note. And I'm like, I voice note a stranger straight away, no worries.
I love voice notes now. And like I'm a running joke when my friends are like, Haley's totally turned us now. And so they're doing voice notes as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, I totally I'd get you. It's so much
Yeah.
easier, isn't it? Especially for busy people when we're
Yeah.
multitasking.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, no, definitely. Oh, well, thank you so much. And like Claire's just said, anyone's got any questions, drop her a message. Thank you.
Thank you.